Right, so hello everyone and welcome to episode 9 of the Best of Burgess. Joining me this week is Johnny Flynn. How are you, Johnny?
I'm very good, thanks. Yourself?
I'm not too bad now, can't complain. I
That's good.
suppose, Johnny, your earliest memories of Burgess and first kind of going up to the field, when did it all kind of start for you?
It started, we went up to Hogan's Field. We used to call it Hogan's Field. So Matt Slattery owned it. We had no field, of course, in Burgess until the later years. But going up there, we'd be playing, the big boys would be hard training, and we'd be behind the goal, young lads, all we were, sure. And then we moved over to Mulcahy's then for some reason or another. I don't know why, but we're in Paddy Mulcahy's field where the shop was, the field behind that. That's where we done a bit of our training. And then we moved on to Johnny Mulcahy's field, farther over. We were kind of nomads. We were everywhere and nowhere, you know. So then, you know, when we came to be a bit bigger, as the fella said, we lucky enough that we bought our field in Kilcoleman, and so we have a good bit done to it.
Yeah. And when you were kind of coming up, the first times going training and that, what other kind of lads would have been going up similar age to you back then?
JP McDonald, he come down there from the house. JP's house is only above what the field is across the road. Liam Collins and Paddy Kelly, Billy Kelly, and a few lads that you never think of. So today when I'm thinking about it, I said, you know, all them lads are, well, from, like some of them have passed on and they've been here and they've gone here and there. So
yeah,
we kind of came. Our first introductions was to senior hurling. We played Nina one evening in a match, and all we had only 14 players. So Nina bet was all right, but they only bet us in a minor match, and that was our first kind of. We had about 10 or 12 fairly decent hurlers at the time, and a couple of lads that were say when that time minor was 18. A lad at maybe 16 or 15 would be very small compared to, you know yourself, to a minor school.
Yeah.
So we graduated on from that up to, we're looking up then at who brought up the idea of joining with Killadangan, say for the 21. And well, we were very lucky that we got two counties out of it.
Yeah.
You know, it was a great move on say Killadangan and Burgess behalf, but then the bigger clubs in North Prairie cribbed for the third year. They wouldn't let us join.
And were Killadangan short on numbers at that time as well?
Where Killadangan, like ourselves, Killadangan had the first year we had was it 9 or 8, and the following year it was the same way. It was only that Killadangan had the extra man or two.
Yeah,
you know. It was a look. I don't know who thought of it, but someone listened there to Jim Barry. They joined before with Killadangan, but they didn't get anywhere. I think that only the one end.
Yeah,
we were the luckiest crowd. But yeah, we had there was some fine hurlers on the Killadangan team at the time. No,
and was that weird for you?
Too, of course, naturally.
Was that kind of weird for you joining up with a different team? Like, what jerseys did you wear?
We wore the Burgess one's first year, and the Killadangan one's the second year.
All right,
so that's the way there was no cribbing or crying about it. Stormy Morris, the Lord Mercy, was one of the selectors, and Stormy was a very honest man.
Yeah,
and he'd tell you out straight to your face if cribbing that wasn't on, but Stormy just said, well, they're not good enough. You know, he was very straight, maybe too straight, but he let you know where you stood.
Yeah. And would that like, I'd imagine that would be kind of hard even for selectors, because if you pick a Burgess lad, there'll be Killadangan people giving out that they're picking all the Burgess people and vice versa. Was there any of that kind of going on?
Well, there was a few, even a lad forced me there, I said around Christmas, time with one name that the pubs were open, and he said it to me about that he got no county or not for county medal, and he should have been on the team. But he says, "You came down and stole it off me." That's your problem, not mine.
And so is that like the first? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, my first, the first match or the first medal I won was of course again the famous the day again the mines. That was we were no hopers. We were going to get completely swamped off the field. And I remember it was the morning was terrible. It was rain, and we said kind of that'll slow the mines up a bit. But didn't the afternoon blew up to a right evening. And that was as far as I can remember, it was a fair try. Now it's hard to judge what a match is like when you're playing. But it was fairly once rough, fairly hard. It was like the Mines had to go. The Mines should have won it handy, but they only got 2 great goals that day from 2 penalties, and a very dubious penalty, I suppose. The first one was we were doing the Mines were pressing us hard, but we were on our own, and the ball went down, and it was clear. Jim Brian Boltini was full back, I think, and Tommy Seymour was marking him. Full back the ball and cleared it, and Donny railed up on Tommy. And Tommy, of course, he was using his rougher language, and I'm going to use now, but he says, Tommy, will you do something? What the hell can I do? He said. Do something, he said. What did Tommy do? And he turned around and hit Boltini at latter. And if he didn't pull up and hit Tommy, and Johnny Marr just turned around the wrong time, penalty. Nailed the net. And that kind of set the mind back a bit, and we held our own then until half time. Next thing happened, and another penalty, and he stuck one on the floor and he put that on the roof of the net. I think the score that day was maybe 2-6 to 9 or 10 pints, whatever it was. I think we only won a pint or 2.
Yeah, and what year was that?
That was 69.
So that was intermediate North
the
final,
Mines,
was it?
Intermediate, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, they came on and beat us. At that time, there's only one team went through, the junior A's and the intermediate. So we were playing Knoxville. So Knoxville pulled a winger on us, and they hammered us.
And
then
did
the
you
year
say
after,
a junior A team that time?
Huh?
Did you say they were a junior team that time?
That's right, Knoxville junior.
Yeah.
Junior A. And we were intermediate, and they had a good team, but we kind of took them. Well, of course, after beating the Mines, we were probably visiting too many watering holes, and when it came to the Sunday, we weren't in the best of shape. But they really ran rings around us, and they gave us a lesson.
Yeah.
It was a one that I forgot because we underestimated them completely.
Yeah.
And then the year after, I don't know who we met in the North final year after. I think we could have been Killadangan. And Drummond Inch came up on the way up that time. And they came to me and gave us another lesson. So that pushed us back a bit. And then we had to wait, of course, until with 76. Like that was 2 Norths. We had one, but no county. But that time when you won 2 Norths, you had to go up senior.
Okay.
But we were up senior. But what happened? A few of the older lads retired. You know, like after winning the two Norths. And we were a young team. But then we got back in 76. We had said it was the bones of the under 21 team that we had. We had about 10 or 12 lads off that, and a couple of lads come on. I think John Maher was a young lad at the time, and Donny played in the goal. So Donny was, I don't know what age he was at the time, but he was old enough to have sense not to be hurling. But we played him. He's a great man for the club. For him, there wouldn't be a club in it. So.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I was going to ask you there, around that time when you were talking about Donny being in goals, and Donny was talking about, and nearly everyone we talked about that year has talked about the full back line with yourself, Denny Maher, and I think it was Liam Hogan was at Hell's Kitchen. How was that kind of formed? Yeah, well, I suppose we were lucky enough. A lot of the things you'd hear, it's not true. But let's be telling you once a lie, but we hadn't bits onto it. No, it was tough enough. We had a couple of fierce matches with
Ballina, the Rovers, Killadangan, of course, as well. And the Mines. We had some fierce matches. Even the year we bet the Mines in, say that's in '69, and then we played them in under 21, I think in 70 or 71, 70, I suppose. And the Mines should have beaten us again under 21. That was our first match. We joined with Kildangan, and we scraped home by a pint. Again, of course, a big row developed, and the spectators actually were involved, looking off us. Or so-called spectators. It's tough, yeah, it's tough.
And gee, where was that game on? Where that happened?
We were looking up in Nina. Oh, we're 90% of our matches in Nina at that time. Nina was nearly our hometown, home field. But it was great. We were lucky. We were lucky. Like I always said that if it's hurling or football or any game, if you happen to be a local, you'll win nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure. That was the under 21 were in the Mines that evening. I remember there's 3 or 4 of the spectators actually got involved, and they're not to do those at all. Well, they won't say to do those.
One-sided.
What I wouldn't think so, but however, we'll say no more about it.
So moving on then, like after 76, like when would you have stopped hurling? You would have been hurling for a good while after that anyway.
I stopped. I gave up. I hurled for another year or 2 after. Then I was getting married, and I gave it up. And of course, that only lasted once the marriage was over. For first children were born, then we went back. Of course, we went back and played junior A.
Yeah.
We had some great moments in the junior A too,
And like you would have, what age would you have been then playing junior? Were you one of the older players then?
I was sure. I won't say older. I was nearly ancient, but we had we had a great team though. We were very unlucky. Like we met Timberley in one final, in our final. Timberley to Timberley's first team.
Yeah.
And we had a veteran for half an hour, and then they were way better than us, all right. But we kind of maybe ran out a bit of steam finishing up, but the beat was all right. But they had some good hurlers. They had a fine team. Tipperary had.
Jeez, yeah, I didn't know that they were only a junior club for a while.
They were only a junior for that time, for a while, and then they came up. They're like ourselves. They got up senior and they held on, and they're probably held again a lot of odds. They had a lot of injuries there for a couple of years, and when Brad looked at that runs of the club, you have to keep the team together.
Yeah. And so when you finished up, then what was that kind of like? Not being a hurler anymore, or not playing anymore. Did you go straight into being a selector or anything, or?
Well, I gave a couple of years. You'd be going to matches and wouldn't be at the door. And then a few matches, you say, why can't lads do this, or why can't who's selected, and why are they not making moves? You think you can do better yourself? When sure, maybe a few times I was involved in line, or maybe with the junior A's. Well, we pulled, I think it was 4 or so of it. We'd never got a county. Unfortunately, we were in fierce hard luck not to win 2 counties, but we came away with nothing.
So you were involved with the junior teams in the early 2000s, was it?
Yeah, I think it's around there, yeah.
With John Darcy and those against Thurles Fenleys, that kind of time.
Oh, that was the great. Talk about see how it's down here. The best sport to score. I have to give that to Pat Tucker. We're playing the Fenleys, and he had a ball way out near the corner flag. I was rolling at him to push it across, and sure, being fair play to him, he took it on himself from near the end line and shot her straight over the bar. Draw match. They came to Dollar then for the replay, and pulled a hamstring in training or warming up, so he was a big loss to us. Yeah. And unfortunately, we were beaten by only 2 points. But he had terrible skill. But then some days you mightn't be as interested as other days, you know. But, at that point, I always stands out in my mind as you know, to have the guts to go for it was one thing, but to get it.
Yeah, and that was like last puck of the game kind of thing, was it?
Oh, I'd say the referee, if it didn't go to the bar, like it's all over.
Yeah.
But fair play to what referee was. He gave us. I knew well that we were in borrowed time, and I was hoping Per put it across to someone else that'd be in front of the post might get a score. But fair play to Per, he took it on himself and done the deed.
And if we look at kind of like your best memory, is 76 the one that sticks out for you, or is there a different one?
I know. I said the mines was the first. The mines into the day. That was a great memory because it's just my first. Say a year playing would playing intermediate or senior or the big men.
Yeah.
And you know, it was. But to win that was like we had no hope of whatsoever. Like the mines actually, I'd be often talking to Mike Sullivan. Mike, I was a Martin Mike that day for a while, and he always said it to me. He said, "You still can't figure out what happened." Like but that's just sheer dogged and determination won it for not skill or not. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good holder. Everyone gave 110. You know, even Tommy with the. I know. I mean, I shouldn't have said like it was a good idea to hit the full back at Clatter. That time the referee never went. He never went to the umpires. What happened? He done it, but Johnny Mara saw Jim Bryan hitting Tommy a penalty. And I often laugh about that one actually. It was yeah, what a thing to do.
Yeah.
But Tommy knew that Jim was fairly hot, you know.
Yeah. And like you're saying with that being your first one, had you lost any kind of finals coming up along before that or anything like that?
No. I was only bare 18 at that time. Wasn't even 18. Or well, it was 18, yeah.
Yeah. And where were you playing on that team?
I was wing back. That time I was able to run that time.
You started slowly dropping further and further back then.
Yeah, and then it went off the other way, off up to the corner forward. But yeah, it was they were great. They were great times, you know. Like it's great when you win.
Yeah.
But it's not, you know. I'm sure the mines were gutted. They didn't win the mines, but they came on. Then they went up senior, didn't, and the one didn't meet it a year or two after, and sure they were very hard looking at to win a county.
Yeah, sure they would have had a good few tip players around that time as well, wouldn't they?
Oh, they had a great team. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I suppose would you class that as the best game you played in, or was there a different game maybe that sticks out?
No, I'd say that was one of my better games. Yeah. That was. I suppose being so young, on one side so young, but we were only all young at the time. And your first win was it's all a stick in your mind.
Yeah. And like, do you remember that day? Like, were you kind of nervous going into Nina, or do you remember the day much?
I was, and I see it here, and you know, just have the best piece of advice I've given. Old as well, we call him. I always call him old Garrett Howard. Garrett's father cut me a bit of short that coming out, and he says to me, he says, keep your eye on the ball all the time. He says, no matter where it is. If the goalie has it in his hand, watch it. If the corner, no matter who has it, watch the ball. He says, and they can do nothing about it. And I thought it was a great piece of advice. And even today's hurling, if you watch the ball all the time, well, you can't go too far wrong when you know where the ball is.
Yeah. And so that kind of just focused you a bit, I suppose, before going out to the game.
Yeah. The focus, yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose you're talking about your best score being that Pat Tucker one. Is there a goal that sticks out in your mind at all through all your playing and all your following Burgess?
Yeah. Martin Kennedy's goal again. We have to go. That was a serious goal. To something like Peg got one again. Knoxie in the North Final, but Martin Kennedy's goal. We were under pressure. We were better than them. Aero and Carty, but we just weren't able to shake him off. But Martin grabbed the puck out and took it on himself, and from about 30 yards out, he bullet into the net.
And what year was that goal?
That was 76
in the final.
Yeah.
It
was a serious goal, but there's a bit of a story attached to it. We came back to O'Meara's Hotel for the dinner. At that time, we used to get the dinner anyway. But I think Jimmy Bryan in Monroe, you probably never know him there. He owned that farm there. But
yeah,
I carried Jimmy to the match, and anyway, we were in the bars having a drink after the match, and in Martin Kidney appeared, and Jimmy Bryan stood up. He said, "I must get this man a drink," he says. So he brought down Martin his drink. He's sitting around the table with the rest of us. And he said, Martin Kidney, he says, "That's the best goal I ever saw scored in Thurles."
Jesus.
And next, this voice from the wilderness pipes up. I'm not going to mention his name. And he says, "No," he says, "Christy Ring scored a better one in 1964. When he wasn't hung, or imagine a junior A match or a junior intermediate match with a senior match, or Christy Ring. There's no one better one to score a goal than Christy Ring. So Martin Kidney is up there with Christy Ring. So I thought Jimmy Bryan was going to choke him. But anyway, he didn't. And there was no harm in it. But yeah. No, I often think of it after, like, to compare a junior or we were called junior at the time, as well, an intermediate match or an intermediate player with Christy Ring. It was a great honour before it or Christy Ring.
Yeah. And I suppose I'd imagine the night out after winning 76 was probably among some of the better ones.
Yeah, it was a night and a couple of days as well. Yeah, because we never had we had no county one, so that's kind of helped us along our way. But then see what happened is that a few of the boys retired then, and I took the good over the trying to build a team again. But lucky enough, we came through, and we got up senior in after a big struggle, and hopefully we'll stay there. And
when you came up senior, like, did you find a big difference from intermediate coming up senior that time?
Not really, because like we had played against the Burgess Lee and Ross Grays and Killer Ones and all these lads under 21, and they were all senior holders. So, and we had beaten them. I know we were trying with Langan, but we beat was Ross Gray the first year, and I think Burgess Lee the second year. And they were expecting, both teams were expecting to win it out themselves. But
yeah,
we were lucky enough that we got the better of them.
Is there a game, Johnny, that you'd like to watch again, even games you've played or games you've watched?
I'd say the day we beat Thurles in Saint Nina. That was. I know it started off fairly hot, but that was a great game.
Yeah.
Thurles had them all. They had the Redser and we had. Of course, we were very unlucky then with like. David Maher getting hurted probably was one of the biggest losses to the club of all time.
Yeah,
he was a serious hurler. I thought myself that he wore the number 3 for Tip. Maybe he wouldn't, but I thought he had everything. He had power, strength. He was fairly. I won't say he was vicious, but he had it in him. You wouldn't walk on him.
Yeah, he had that strength that you want in a full back, I suppose.
Yeah. He was very good, I thought. Thurles got a bit of a shock that day. They thought that they were going to. Well, they thought they were going to go walking as before the whistle was blowing at all.
Yeah.
But I think they came out second on that.
And I suppose like coming up to Nina as well was probably a mistake on their part. That Burgess would play all their games there.
Well, yeah, it was. But that was. I think there's I don't know why it came to Nina, but I said they had no great fear of us. They said, "Oh, there's only our junior team."
Yeah.
But, well, it worked out wrong for him anyway. Well, there's no one hurt us, the main thing.
Have you like a favourite Burgess supporter, maybe even when you were playing, or in general?
Actually, Maura Ryan Con Ryan's wife, she was at every Burgess match, and she was, and if there was 1 million people at the match, you'd hear her shouting. She had a great voice, great talent. She was serious, but she was a lady, but she was great supporter.
And you were talking about David Maher there, how he should have played for Tip. Is that who you would say, a Burgess hurler that should have played for Tip, or is there anyone else?
Well, I suppose, yeah, he probably he could have played for Tip only for getting hurt, but as for Stephen Murray, sticks out like a sore thumb. Like I don't know what. At least he's good enough. If he's not good enough to be on the panel, you needn't be on the subs if you're not good enough. But like Murray was well worth his place. I don't know why he just didn't. I don't know why the selectors hadn't him on, because even for 20 minutes finishing up, he had everything. He has speed and skill and accuracy.
Yeah.
You know, he was the highest scorer in senior hurling there for 10 years. You know, he. I just couldn't figure out why he wouldn't end on the panel anyway. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. And is there any kind of, maybe not regret, but maybe something you do differently? Is there anything that sticks out, even when you're playing, or if you're a manager maybe or a selector making a decision? Is there any decision that kind of sticks out that if you had it back, you'd do it differently?
Offhand, though, I can't think of the things. It's easy to have a hindsight, like, but you know, it's. I reckon hindsight is no sight. If we could ever get a second prize at every sherry, you know, even if you're only doing the latter, you would do different numbers when you didn't win, would you?
Have you a funniest memory, Johnny, of Burgess or your time around the hurling?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's very funny. I suppose we were playing Nina in a junior A match, and I was playing, or I was on the field anyway. Nina had a real good team, but sure, we were typical. You know, we were dogging them away and keeping them. But we got free around half back line or somewhere, and who took it? But I was playing corner forward, and I was looking at it coming in, and I said, "This is heading for the goal." So I ran round the back of the net, and Matthew Ryan was in the goal, and I whispered, and when I once I whispered, I said, "Let it off, Matty." And Matty stood back, ball hopped into the corner net. He laughed. And then Jimmy Morris came up, and he was fraught out about it. Don't believe what that fecker tells you. And that's what I would have been at. And Matthew, we often have a good old laugh over it. You know, I know it is a mean thing to do, but at the time, there's nothing I could do about it. You know?
Oh, that is hilarious. I can only imagine. I'd say when you were running away when the green flag was being raised, I'd say you were roaring laughing.
Of course it was. I thought, you know, just yes, I don't know, just pure looked at thought of it. Like I just hopped the right way as well. But when Morris said that, he didn't speak to me about 2 years after it.
And who took the free? And I'd say they were delighted. They were after scoring a goal from miles out.
I thought it was maybe one of our wing backs, maybe Paddy Ryan or someone like that. Maybe it was Timmy Hogan, maybe centre back. Who it was? It wasn't Timmy Hogan. It was, I don't know who it was, but it was an old one. If you ever hear that, an old lazy one, just coming for a long, just traveling for a long time. And I was looking at it for ages. And I just said, this thing is heading for the goal. You know? Matty was glued to the post, and all the Nina backs were, of course, pulling the wagon over forwards naturally. At that time, it was different. But I said the best place for me was not in there anyway. I often, even when I meet Matty, I'd wave at him and I said, "Let's laugh, Matty."
Oh God, you never let him live that down. So.
No. He even he even told one night that we were doing the lotto in Malibons, and he came in and he was. Of course, I said to him, "Say, let it off." No, he stood up and told them all what happened. But, of course, the best thing you can do for the thing like that is not to let on it hurt you. So I'm sure behind it all, he said the right.
Oh God, that's gas. I suppose. Another one I suppose I have is the best kind of person to give a speech. Is there anyone that sticks out for you?
Yeah, two of the lads, I suppose, Andrew and Donny. Donny was a great man, he was, but Andrew would go around and he talked to everyone nearly personal, you know. Remember the day of the famous football match with the Hinge, and Andrew made a bit of a speech, and Bobby Reedy was one of the two lads that around that could play a bit of football, but Bobby was dropped for the final anyway, and Andrew came out and he's shaking his hands, and Andrew's trembling. No, he was well wound up himself, and he says, Bobby, I'm sorry for dropping you. But this is war. This is war. And it was war. It was war. You know, well, again, no one was killed or anything. It was not sore bodies after that match. You know, it was tough.
I'd imagine Andrew and Donny were kind of two different style of speech givers, I'd imagine.
Yes. Donny was a great man to motivate the whole team, where Andrew go around one-to-one, like, and he was Andrew, but he was a great man. He's great vision, but he was good with that. Donny was brilliant man, and he was able to keep talking without ever a break. You know, he keep well, of course, being a school teacher helped him along the line.
Yeah.
But Donny was good. Yeah.
And is there? We were talking about kind of good times and stuff like that, but is there times where kind of heartbreak or Burgess made you cry down through the years?
Yeah. I'd say that the two North finals, losing, but I won't say losing them, giving them away. I don't think we'll ever get over that.
That's 2008 and 2014.
Yeah. Yes, you know, we had the match against Kildare one, and just pure luck, or I won't say luck, bad luck that we had against us, and then they again, like. If the man says we could have done it different, but that's up to the guys that were there over the team to do what they thought best, and unfortunately it didn't work out.
Yeah,
it was fair. You know, we got to the final, and yeah, we should have. Even if we got one of them, I'd be very happy. But you know, hopefully sometime we'll get one sometime, hopefully.
Yeah, and even just talking about like the North Championship at the minute, like it's a bit on the ropes whether the divisional championships will be even around in a couple of years with the way the county championship is going, and if you win the North Championship, you mightn't be guaranteed a quarter-final place and all this. Would you like to see it stay the way it is?
Oh, most definitely, yeah. Like the mid and the North are the two very strong, but the other two really, well, I won't say they don't matter, but they're probably a lot more football in the other two divisions, and they're happy enough to play football. But I think that divisional championships should be there the whole time.
Yeah.
And if they wanted to run it in a knockout basis, so be it. Like, you know, they didn't want a whole lot of matches. So, you know, what have you only 3 or 4 Sundays and the whole thing is gone.
Yeah.
You know, they said, right, we're playing yesterday, and there's no matter who's hurted or not hurted, you have to play it on the Sunday.
And do you think that if
to be terrible to see?
Do you think that if the divisional link wasn't there with the county championship, do you think it would still be as an important of a competition?
I think it would. Yeah, there's a North final. I remember years ago, going back, even in the time we were playing intermediate, people used to come from Cork and Limerick to see the intermediate finals, and you know, and even the senior finals, because they were good hurling matches. And of course, there's no television at the time. And I won't say, no, there's no every field now. You'll see a couple of cameras in them. You know,
yeah.
So. Yeah, there's a lot of people that you'd be talking to down the years and in different places. And we'll tell you where you're from. Oh, Burgess. So, oh yeah, we were up seeing you playing such and such a team there. There's a right match, or there's a bad match, or there's dirty, or there's clean, or there's you were lucky or unlucky. So, you know, there's a lot of people used to come to see the matches.
Yeah, and one that's come to my head there is a Burgess player you'd hate to mark. Now, a lot of people might say one of the trio of yourself, Denny Marin and Lee McGrath, but who would you least like to mark in training?
Jim Barry. he was a terrible strong man, and he was a left-hander kind of, and he like when he drew the ball, you want to be standing close to him, because if he didn't, he cut into hands. He was no, Barry wasn't by any means dirty, but when he had the first shot on the ball.
Yeah. So, and what type of kind of hurler was he? When you were playing along with him?
He was our kingpin up front, sir. Like, he was a great man to get goals. When he got the ball anywhere around side 21, he was dangerous, and he always looked for the goal. The Pines weren't really much good to him, but he always wanted, and 2 or 3 goals in any match, no matter what you're playing, you should probably win it, or even one, because going back in them 2 years that we were playing, the scores were very low. Like, I don't have the scores on me, but in Bridges' book, 10 Pines to 11 and 10-12, and maybe 1-6 to 12 Pines or 9 Pines, where it would be. The doors were very close. Even the day against Killanangan with the drawing match, I think that was only 9 or 10 Pines each.
Yeah.
I forget now, the score wasn't very high anyway.
And would it kind of all been kind of there was obviously a lot more kind of ground hurling and that kind of thing back then, was there?
A lot more ground hurling, and of course, then if just looking at the matches there Sunday or Saturday, and if you draw out a ball now, the referee will probably pull you for careless use of the hurling.
Yeah.
Going back down to Theo English, whether the man is still alive or not, but he was just midfield for tip, and he wasn't a big man, but he never caught a ball dropping. Everything he hit it.
Yeah.
And if you put up hand, and like, we even go back now to, we often slagging him, the great Mackie McKenna. And Mackie wasn't a big man, but by God, when he throws a ball, if your hand was up there, you had a trip to St. Joseph that evening for a bit of tread.
Yeah. Yeah, it has changed that way. Like, you rarely see that kind of thing anymore. I suppose you probably miss that sort of thing.
You would, yeah, because you see a ball coming down the lane and a lad going out to rise, and there's no place he can go any out over it.
Yeah.
Where if he turns around and the flies, if he hits it, it's gone into the square. If he misses it, well, so what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, it's very rare now in a game where you'd see the ball around the middle of the field and someone pulling on it. Like, it just doesn't happen really anymore. Like,
no, it's gone out. The rules have a rule, of course.
Yeah.
The last good goal I saw off the ground was, you probably saw it yourself maybe now, was John Fenton, Hartman.
Oh, yeah.
He was walking around centre field on the ground, and the poor goal, and who it was, I don't know who they were again same day.
It was Limerick.
I don't need to call it. It was Limerick, I think it was, yeah.
It was
a cannon.
Yeah, and even the video of that goal, like, you can't even see the ball. Like, he hits it so hard you can't even see it. Like, you just see the camera moving and the green flag going up. Like,
yeah. Like, if he took that in his hand, the most he could get over was a pint.
Yeah.
So it was a great. I think the rules have hurling kind of rule. You see, their Sunday, it's gone more like football now. Pass and pen. I even see the above training the field there. A lot of hand pass work. I don't know if some team can go back to the old, and we don't line out a corner forward or a corner back. You pick them whoever you're on, stay with him.
Yeah.
And like as with the years ago, when we were talking about, if you can't grab him with the jersey, he's too far away from you. So
it's a good rule of thumb, that is.
You're not near him. Yeah.
Have you any, like, obviously any Burgess match going, you'd usually run into Johnny Flynn at it. Like, would you have any sort of superstitions going to matches now at all about maybe I have to stand on this side of the bank or anything like that at all?
No, I don't believe in the superstitious. But, some people do. Like, in the dressing room, watching lads there, they have to sit on such a peg or such a place or sit beside such a lad. I suppose something to give your mind. It takes the pressure off you. A lot of lads will be nervous going out. If you're not nervous going out, you're no good. Just first after a minute or two when things you'll be all right. But it is some people do have some kind of to say what's a superstitious, but they like to sit in a certain spot or go on. I remember one he was a hurl with us, and he used to wear 2 different socks.
Different color socks.
Yeah. So,
and like, just talking about nerves and stuff there, like, would you be more nervous like watching Burgess playing a big match, or would you have been more nervous when you were playing, let's say?
I'd be way more nervous watching it. Because when you're inside playing, you're too busy trying to do the best you could. But when you're out on the bank or the sideline or wherever you are, you're trying to, especially if you're involved, you're trying to try to pick out who was going well or who was going bad or what's happening. Yeah, it's very hard to see a match, say, for when you're involved. But I wouldn't be. I'd be way more nervous watching a match than I would be playing.
Yeah.
Well, I used to be anyway.
Yeah. If we look now at the kind of last couple of questions, one of them is if you could have any hurler in the country join Burgess now, who would you pick?
Well, I suppose there's one man I always I thought he was the one for greatest Tipperary been a while, and stole the wire. He was a great man. He carried Burgess to an All Ireland. He carried Tip to umpteen matches, and I thought the wire was serious hurler.
Yeah.
I'd love to have him, and if you could bring him back to former days. He was an engine of a man. Like, he's a very big, strong man. Like, and he was able to hurl. Yeah. And he had a good head.
And where did he play now? Like, I wouldn't have seen him hurl now much.
Well, he played probably near enough everywhere for Tip. Like, he's definitely Liam Devaney, but he played in the forwards. He played the back. He played everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and he was a great man. I thought he was anyway. A lot of lads didn't probably. Once I think he was as good as I, but I thought that the wire was everything that you want in a hurler.
Yeah. And if we look, just talking about favourite hurlers there, have you a favourite Burgess hurler, even just a player who you just really enjoyed watching down through the years or playing with down through the years? Is there anyone that kind of sticks out now? It doesn't even have to be the best, but someone just you kind of really enjoyed watching.
Yeah, that's Sean Nealon. I thought he wasn't a big man, of course, but he was very. I had to see what for I want what to do. He was able to get away from the cornerback or the fullback, whoever he's on, and get it loose. Very simple.
Yeah.
He was always, and you know, he was a devious little lad too. You know, he'd give you a snig in him. You know, he was no softy.
Yeah. And I suppose the last kind of 2 questions. One of them is your dream team. A hard thing to do. Have you decided to pick one, or what way?
I think no. To be impossible, like to pick a team, because no matter who you put on, some people could take it to heart, you know. And not saying I'm picking one team and you're picking another team. It could be 20 teams, but
yeah.
So I don't think I'd like to do it. To be something to do, maybe that put out there to everyone and submit a team and see like who would have a panel of judges there and say, right, who the real team is, like the team of the year award or something like that, or the team of the century or the team of the last. Like, I barely remember Pat Murray. Hurling. He was in Mulcahy Speed. That's the first time I met him. He was probably well finished at the time.
Yeah.
You know, so you can't go back and I never saw, say, the Welches or Jack and Denny Maher and Connie Whelan and Mick Ryan and Dan Ryan. You know, I never saw them as hurling.
Yeah.
Liam Burke. There's a lot of lads around there. I didn't even think it. So you couldn't. How would you measure up to them lads? And like even today, if you put a lot of the young lads are playing there, or they haven't been young or old, but the show the weight of the ball alone. You know, it's an awful difference. We use a big McAuliffe ball, and those rims on it, had many lads broke fingers in them.
Yeah.
You know, they're massive weight. And then this thing, like, I remember going back, Mike McDonald was our centre back, and he'd be taking all the 70s. And he wouldn't score that many of them. Wouldn't get the distance.
Yeah.
But the ball is like a big turnip. It's an awful weight.
Yeah.
Especially it's the wet day, and it isn't blind with water anyway.
Yeah.
But nowadays they're 100, 120 yards over the bar.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah, I'd love
love
to
to get
see
an.
the slitters back
If it
then
would
just
be,
to see what the difference is. Like, I'd love to
yeah.
pick up a ball from like the 60s or 50s even just to see how far they've changed. Like,
I'd love to know the weight of the difference, but there's no way. That's why the centre field play. You had to be. You were better centre field that time. You were beaten because that's where the ball was dropping on the field or near enough. And nowadays, there's no centre field player, or very little.
yeah, the ball's nearly passing over and back over the centre of the field.
Like yourself, you were able to puck out onto the other under 21. So you have one middle field blocked out.
Yeah. I suppose finishing up, Johnny, a question is 2 points down, last puck of the game. You have a 21-yard free. You have to go to goal to win. Who would you pick from Burgess to take that free?
I have to go, yeah. I said mentioned there a minute ago about Sean Needle and for the size of an office slapping about it. I know he's better, but Sean would be if he was around, I'd be looking at him to take it anyway.
Yeah, and have you seen him score a few down through the years?
I did see him, yeah. And Donny now scored 2 great ones again. The mines, like you can't take it from Donny, but Sean is for he's a hairy little lad. He's an awful well up a ball.
Yeah.
It is. You could pick probably a lot of John Dorsey and the other lads around that will take him, but I just pick Sean for he probably won't talk to me if I put him on. But he had a great touch with the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be everyone's choice, I suppose, so far. Anyway, so I'd love to have seen him in action up in Kilcoman or wherever. But yeah, that's all I have for you anyway, Johnny. So thanks a million for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed watching anyway, and I hope you enjoyed it anyway, Johnny.
I did actually, yeah, and and thanks for having me on. I'm pleased that I done it anyway.
Yeah, and sure, hopefully, please God, we've a few matches to go to soon enough.
With the help of God, yeah.
We'll
have a chat.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Johnny.
No matter, right? Good luck.
Nice.